So who is Custa? Custa is a former Overwatch League player and caster, somebody involved in the OWCS team, and more importantly, our team, Team Overwatch, the stream team of J3, Apply, KarQ, Custa, obviously, and Emong. Now, today we're going to be looking at his Lucio gameplay. Lucio's pretty complicated, very dynamic and fun, which leads to a lot of choices. Who do you choose to support? Where do you position? How do you use your CDs? How can you get the most value? When do you +1, in other words, go off with an off angle with a DPS, and when and where can you get creative? How do you find value in Lucio when you're not speeding people in and out? How do you approach fight planning and positioning proactively as a support instead of passively over and over again? I found this session to be a very good overview on how to approach thinking while playing Lucio. You see, Lucio is not like other supports. You can kind of just hold a position and just get value. You actually have to adjust exactly what you're doing constantly depending on the state of the battlefield. Starting to build the muscle of the support mindset. In other words, knowing ahead of time when and where to go is really, really important when you're playing Lucio, whether you're playing for a stream team or whether you're just playing in ranked. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube if you enjoyed this video, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Even if we don't end up playing this composition all that much, I'd like to at least theory craft and brainstorm what your role is here.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that I'm definitely the least confident on, especially as roles change of sometimes it's good to be +1ing, sometimes I need to be with the tank. And lately I've been playing a lot more just more safe of just not trying to be punished, just trying to play more with the group. But I definitely think I could stray out from that a lot more.
Right. Well, the tricky thing is when you do +1, when you do tend to take more proactivity, it becomes more of a mechanical skill check. And so if you fail that skill check, you'll get negative feedback, even if the idea of what you're doing is correct. Right.
Yeah.
And that's always tricky here. So the way I like to look at it is there's 4 things that you need to be doing. Okay. You're either with your tank, you're with your DPS, either one, or you're with your support. That's it. And then it's just depending on what is the most relevant at that point in time, and you make the read. So in a neutral here, if we're looking for a commit engage at some point, it makes sense for you to be in a position to either speed Emong or speed our DPS. I don't think we're going to be peeling backline much at all. So, hey, we speed in, great, nice job. And then a lot of these plays here will depend on our setup for when and where you want to be. I actually don't even know if I want to look. Okay, let's actually look at this one really quick. So this one will be interesting. So you're speeding KarQ back here. But looking at the situation here, what's our play here? What's the plan generally?
So right now, I like being in this area between Emong and KarQ, trying to find the tracer. That's the thing. And then as soon as a go call comes, that's when I decide I'm going to close the distance between me and Emong and the rest of the team.
Sure. So you're looking specifically for marking their tracer, and then you want to be in a position to be able to speed Emong in or out.
Yes.
I think that's relevant given the fact that they have the beep and the kitsune. We have something that we can speed out here. What's your value here?
So here I'm trying to do AoE healing and that kind of stuff. And I'm also just there to dissuade the Xayah from stepping forward. If Emon gets low, then obviously I have the boop angle, but I like getting high here because then I can shoot down at the Sojin.
Okay. Makes sense. Now I want you to kind of think about this. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I want you to think about how do we actually win this neutral? How do we win this fight?
I think we need to get a Apply around the outside. If we can get him on behind the Xayah onto the Mega, and then we all in on either the Lucio or the Xayah. I think trying to get to the Sojin is a non-factor. We're never going to get there.
Sure. So this is where you really have to kind of look carefully at what value you're providing. Because when I ask you, what are you doing here? There will always be an answer. There will always be a solution. There will always be positive things. But the problem is it's not about choosing what gets value, but about what gets the most value in the situation. Because do you think this Zarya wants to push into you, given the old economy right now?
No, obviously.
So you've already checked off that potential option is totally irrelevant. How good is your damage angle from where you are right now?
It's okay. Damage angle is kind of awkward here because of the stairs, and if I get caught I just hate getting caught on the wall here against the Xayah because you can just die. So it's kind of an awkward one for me.
Right. So this is already we're at a point in time now where it's we're already questioning what value you're providing here, because there is value, but it feels awkward, and it feels like the stuff that you could be doing, we're not really actually in a position to do anyway. So then I want you, let's just pretend that we have to play Junker Queen Genji Lucio here, that we had to make this work. What do you think? What's your solution? As a Lucio player, what's your solution?
I need a +1J to give us an alternate route that's going to force the Xayah to feel like they need to peel back, because then all of a sudden their backline is weaker, which should alleviate Emong a little bit. Sure. Or we could go spicy and I could go around the outside with Apply, and then we push the Xayah out with that.
Absolutely. And honestly, the funny thing is here is you could even be like, screw that. I'm going to do the most boring thing possible and just speed my tank in off of Apply's timing, right? Like Apply takes the angle and we go 3, 2, 1 in and you just put pressure on the Zarya, force her to use bubbles because she's worrying about boop and so on, right? But like at some point in time, you got to ask myself, what am I doing by existing here? And so what I feel bad is I feel like a lot of pressure is put on you to like, you need to be +1ing and you need to be doing things. But in all honesty as well, you need to be looking for value on your own. Like right now, okay, so we have the position here. Now what do you do?
Yeah, so I think I've disengaged too much here. What happened is I went for the forward, we pushed the Zarya back. Maybe I need to stay in this alcove, but I think I take a body shot rail, so I get low. Yeah,
you take a body shot rail. Yeah, okay, makes sense. But at least there was a brief moment there where there was value to be found, and then you needed to be able to hold that angle so that you could prevent this backline from walking forward. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's talk about this again. Okay, so we get the rotation to point, obvious value here. Where can you provide value here?
Yeah, I actually really struggle in this one, especially playing against a Sojourn, because what ends up happening is I feel like I just keep getting pushed into this small room. Emong wants to step up to this like kind of this like corner so he can like play on the point but not get shot. But then if he goes there, I don't think I can play with him because like I just kind of die in that situation. So I feel like I end up just like sitting in this small room trying to push away a Tracer, but it's not really a good fight for me. So I actually don't really know.
Exactly. And this to me is like, this is the crux of the situation. Even if we don't play this comp, this is why I want to bring this up, because whenever the decision gets hard, your autopilot provides nothing. What could you do?
I think I need to push the Tracer out. And I think that's the recognition for me because actually with the Genji, if we're going to be playing the Genji and we're going to be playing this composition, actually, I don't ever think we should end up in this room. I think if we end up in this room, we've already lost. Because I think we're playing into their composition, especially with where Apply is at. Like I think I need to be going with Apply, and then the defensive CarQ is just offense.
Sure. I actually agree with both of your takes here. I think you putting emphasis on marking their Tracer, just putting hard pressure on their Tracer while passively healing whatever, or going with Apply on the aggressive angle is by far, like that's the advantage of our comp, right? Is the fact that this guy can do this and this guy can't. Right? So if we're not leveraging that, we're not doing that. And you said, oh, well, I would love to speed Emong, but I can't do it here without dying. And that's just it. So I want you to be thinking selfishly. Ask who can I help, but what position makes sense for me to do that? And speeding tank here makes no sense because you just freaking die. That's it.
Yeah.
So then, where can I provide value? And then what ends up happening is this, I kept watching you and CarQ, like we talked about this kind of already, like just sitting there and trading tank, but like this is negative value. This is negative value. Like once you've made the initial rotation across, your value as Lucio like completely tanked this entire scrim. And that happens frequently. So obviously we don't have to keep looking at it, but that was basically that entire round was you couldn't speed your RAM, so you did nothing the entire round.
Yeah. I think this is also a result of like, I'm just kind of playing how we played with the Queen. Because I feel like with the Queen, there wasn't a lot of alternative things that we really ever needed to do because we're moving as a ball. So I think I just need to, if we're going to be playing the Zarya with a lot more off angles and +1s, especially if we're going to play dive instead of hit scan, I think I just need to adjust to that.
Sure. And it also depends on the map too, like you said, right? Like you speeding Ram or speeding Zarya can be useful, but if you can't do it there's no wall for you to do it safely, then you got to start +1ing elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's next map. Let's keep solving this. Your value here, mark Tracer, shoot Tracer, and so on. Let's actually see. So given what you see here, where's your value? What's safe for you? What can you do?
So I want to get on top of Emong, but then I think I just kind of want to move our team around and then give us positioning because I don't think I can play on the left. If I play on the left, I'm just going to get railed and die. So I think forcing this here. There is a world here where I actually think if I had gone with J3 here, it would have been high value because then all of a sudden we're like crunching them in this situation because right now I'm not really doing anything. But then, this is the issue that I find. Like sometimes if I go +1, CarQ ends up on a different planet, but I don't know if that's
I don't want you to worry about that. So this is something that he's limit testing on his own, doing stuff like this, and he's going to make mistakes. Okay, he's just not used to being. I mean, look at that. He dies with TP and Suzu, right? So when the problem when that happens is I don't want you to look at that as like, oh no, I should have been with him. No, you shouldn't. He screwed up. That's his fault, not your fault. So don't take that as like, oh, I needed to go backwards. No. If anything here, you should have deepened over here and committed to the play because then maybe we can get a trade, right? But this is also where like I think like here. Unironically, do you see this transition that you make here? Yeah. I don't think this is the play.
You don't think I should go? You think I should stay with the Ash?
I don't think so. I don't think we're in a position where we really want to push. I think we just want to hold and shoot.
Yeah.
right?
I like the idea of cutting off the angles and that kind of stuff, because I think Emong said literally at this moment, it's like, I'm going to do what they did, and he decided to step on the right. But I think you're right, like, because Emong's not going to die. If they decided to run down Emong at this point, I think that's good for us. So I think creating that off angle with Apply to help just poking down the corridor, I think you're right.
What ends up happening is the reason that Emong is put under so much pressure is because look at Apply. Apply takes one shot and immediately has to run. Imagine if Apply had even just a little bit more confidence here and how much more pressure that would take off of Emong and how it would put more pressure on the enemy team. So I think it's like, and the big thing for me as well is it's kind of similar to like the Karku thing where like Karku messed up over here, where it's not just the fact that you're on the quote unquote wrong target here, but also you're caught in transition. So this brief, like half a second, 1 second, you're not doing anything. Right.
Yeah.
So where you could just sit here and shoot and shoot and shoot and hold and shoot and shoot and hold and shoot and hold, right? Like that's like squeezing, min-maxing your value is like to decide where you need to be. And then again, like we lose the angle here.
Yeah.
I don't want you to respond. I want you to predict, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And I was talking with Apply a little bit about this, about like when do we want to take a Reaper angle? When does our support need a Lucio angle? Like this is where you could also be like, this isn't a good position for you, right? It doesn't take a genius to say this isn't a good position for you. So this is where kind of similar to like you were talking about, like what can we push their Kiriko, can we push their Sojourn? For me here, you could ask yourself, hey, can we walk forward a little here?
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing anything here, but if I can get here, now I can do Lucio and Reaper and Zarya stuff, right? Just something to consider.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I see Apply push up and I'm like, but I could have gone earlier. Like you literally see me go for the jump and then I like pull back at the last second. So I end up there at the end, but like I could have been there earlier putting out my damage.
Right, exactly. It's also those transitions as well, because when you did go over, it was actually like super, super risky.
Yeah.
Because they had already started to walk forward. And this is where I 100% think that you, even if it gets messy here, defaulting to here is absolutely not the play.
Yeah.
I think this is where you could be +1ing Apply. As messy as this is, any sort of chip damage here to allow Apply to stay on this angle is really important.
Yeah, you're right.
Because again, are you in a position to speed Emong here? Kind of, sort of, not really. Like barely. You're just as much of a position to speed on Emong, ironically, from here to here. The difference is that when we're in this neutral, you're doing something that's contributing more to like controlling space.
Yeah, because I think right now I'm default just going to the point of I want to be as central to the team, and that's why like this pillar is good for me. But I think in these kind of situations, I don't need to be as central. I also this is something that I've been like working on a lot. Is like I find myself in like no man lands. This is one of those situations. If they had a Sojourn, like I could end up here. If they have rail, it's like well, I'm just hoping they miss at this point.
And notice the transition here too. So you're like, oh shoot, I need to go help Apply. Right here, you're dead.
Yeah. If this eye looked at me during that run, I was probably dead.
Exactly. Because so it's ironic that you end up always deciding to do the right thing too late. So now, because Apply's already got his Wraith forced, right? That's the key thing to me. So it's like deciding to support the angles earlier so that you don't get caught transitioning, case in point again, right? You don't get caught transitioning, and so that we never lose the angle in the first place. Nice shots. Well, actually, let's look at that beat engage. Let's just look really quick and see if there's anything obvious here. Because I know Apply's angle was kind of crappy.
Yeah, I think it's Apply's angle. Because I think right here, right, like I'm calling we're going to beat engage. We're going to beat engage. I feel like it can't be on me at this point to like set up for like people to get this beat. Like, because I'm always going to do this little like beat thing. I guess Jay goes a little early.
Yeah, a little early. It gets poked out. And I think this is also where like I think you could be more proactive here. I think you're being too passive. Like we're beat engaging, we know they don't have an ultimate to respond with. That's the key thing, right?
Yeah.
If we're expecting a beat from response, then yes, you need to be here. But this is where, okay, well, you tell me, what do you see?
I see Apply and Jay on the complete opposite sides and two people who didn't get the sound barrier.
Sure.
I didn't even get either of them.
Sure. So, but think about what can you control right now? It's completely beefed for the DPS. What do you need to be doing right now? You have a free beat. What do you do?
I think I need to go in. I either need to push the Zarya in or the Sojourn out.
Exactly. Sort of and honestly, you could also just shoot the Kiriko in the face. She's right there, you know?
Yeah.
Like she's right there, at least force TP to get her out. Because a lot of times when the Zarya was dying is because Jay was able to distract Kiriko, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is like, again, where we get super tunneled on tank. You're not positioning proactively enough. So yeah, absolutely. The boop needs to be much better. Yeah, but you completely beef it. And then obviously not seeing the Kiriko, missing the opportunity to push the Sojourn as well. And then it's just a total mess. So it kind of, it's all not wrapped into like a nice, tidy little bow where it is a lot of the similar issues where like even when we do have a free push, you're playing it a little bit too cautiously. And then because we play it too cautiously, we don't get enough of an advantage, then they beat and then we lose. In terms of your positioning here, what should you be leaning more towards? Plus oneing, playing more with core? What do you think?
I think I want to play core here because I think if I go too far to the left, if this tracer puts too much damage into me, then I'm going to need a help or I'm going to need to use amp too early. So I think I just need to be closer to the Xayah here in this idea.
I agree. And I want to point out as well that this is something that you should have been able to predict before the fight even started, just based off of the ult track. Remember, when there are multiple brawl ults going in, this is when you're being closer to your tank is more important. Because we want to, even our Moira, right? We want to speed Cole, right? Okay, then they're going to respond with Kitsune. Okay, we would like to have you on our Zarya to speed that out, right? And then you need to be able to beat and then be in a position to speed your Zarya in with our beat and so on. You got to get what I'm saying? So like anytime we have a big brawl ult in and out, you being closer to core is fine. Now, let me offer you a different situation here. Let's say we don't have any support ults on either side. Where should you be?
I think at that point, that's when we need to try and force things out of them earlier. So I think I could work with Jay on the flank, or I can actually, if we don't have support ultimates, I could even be on this right side corner and we could go for a rush play on the Xayah. At least force cooldowns out of them early so that we at least come into the fight with an advantage.
Right. You notice that whenever we talk about plus oneing, whether it was on Nepal or the first fight here or here, we're actually, it's not so much who you're plus oneing, it's where you're plus oneing.
Yeah.
Like you were like, oh, I'd love to be plus one with Jay, but it really depends on what angle he's at, because not every position is created alike. This position feels awesome because it's not, helping Reaper is good. It is, but it's because it's this position that's awesome for you, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you plus one, I don't want you to think too hard about who you need to be plus oneing, more about where. Where's your value here?
So I think for me, I like playing here first to the choke, but I think I have to just be going left with Jay. And I think Jay needs to come with me because I think if we just sit at this angle, they're never going to have fear of death. Like you want to get to this mega. And I made that mistake the first fight. You saw where I was like, Emo went left and I was like, I cannot cross to help him.
Exactly. And this is where I think you can be doing these preparation calls, being like, oh, you'll apply, Jay, I'll go with you. Like it depends on the situation. But this is an interesting one because one of the things we talked about was like, it's not the where, it's not the who, it's the where. But right now, there's just nowhere that's good for you. Right? There's nowhere so you might as well just do like the corniest flank ever in the history of the universe and just hopefully that you get value off of that. Like that's the Lucio value here, is taking super, super deep angles. But what ends up happening is like, you're here, but why?
Yeah, I need to bring Jay with me. I think I'm going to make this.
I think so too. And I think this may be where you and Jay can, sometimes if you recognize these things and Jay doesn't, it can be really useful because I think Jay is a smart player, but he doesn't talk a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes he gets very tunneled and stuff, and sometimes his positioning suffers as a result. So it's like if you see these opportunities present themselves, just do a little bit of micromanaging. I don't think you'll get too upset, you know. Besides, he's a lot shorter than you, so you can handle him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, when he's on the hit scan as well, I think it helps us a lot because Apply is very self-proactive. So he doesn't really need help, and he will call for help if he needs it. But I was trying to do this more on Colosseo, actually. I realized where it's like, Jay, I can help you get to this high ground, like this angle. Where do you
I noticed
go?
that. I noticed that. That was really, really good. And that's the kind of stuff that matters so much. Even like you just being here is really helpful, right? Because it's just that insurance that like, okay, if anybody pushes him, I will just be able to provide by a little bit more time. You know, and again here, like, Jay, where do you want to go? Like, who can I help the Tracer and Cart here? Because it doesn't have to just be Jay here. Like you and Apply could work together to make sure that their Lucio or Echo or whatever can't poke Apply off of Cart, right? Because like let's be honest, like you're not really going to be able to speed us on the high ground here. It's not really happening.
Yeah.
Because I look at this here. Well, you look at this and you're like, oh, you know, I should have been with Jay. Should you? Maybe not. Like because I think like Jay and Karq are in a position to where like they should be able to live a long time. Karq also beefs this. He could have TP'd out, right?
Yeah.
He messes up his
TP.
And
I think if Jay had jumped backwards instead of jump upwards as well, he could have lived, and this would have been a terrible engagement.
I agree. That was actually pretty big brain. That almost worked out. That would have been
the take the bomb to the face.
But the funny thing is it still wins. It still wins us the fight because then we get the free rotation, then we get high ground for free. This is all good. But yeah, I think just general like whenever you don't have a good position for you, always think like, where can I be? And then if you can't find a good Lucio spot, like this is another really awkward one here. Like what are you supposed to do? Okay, find something.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Yeah, I think going high with the Tracer and the Kiriko just like is free.
I agree.
Because I don't think Emong needs anything.
I agree. This is also where you can micromanage Jay and just let him ego this angle here a little bit.
Point, actually. Yeah.
Right. So I think the key thing is I think both work. I like both of these ideas. Just again, you see the default though. It's here, right? If Jay's here, he doesn't need your help. I think part of it's because you were low, but then obviously you being here quickly is really important.
This is something that I struggle with when it's kind of similar to Sojourn and Ash, where it's like everyone's just kind of poking and prodding, and as a Lucio, you don't accomplish any of those things. So I think just being more proactive about taking the space away from other people or giving it to my teammates.
That's it exactly. It's in the poking and prodding. I think that that's where good Lucio players really shine, because they're able to solve the problem about like where can I go, where can I be. Because remember that like Lucio's bad at like holding and poking and prodding, but he's also unkillable. Right? Like if you put like an Honor, a Zen, or a Brig or something up here, they are fragile to being pushed. You are not. So you could ego angles that other supports can't take. The way I like to look at this here is it's like trying to make these decisions before the fight starts helps to clarify your thought processes mid-fight, you know? Because things get so chaotic mid-fight. If you can at least start in a good angle, and like try to think ahead of time, like where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? That I think will help us out a lot in the mid-fight. Now, this is really interesting. This is really, really interesting because this is where, +1 Jay. But Jay's not in a position to where he needs +1.
Yeah.
So you could be almost here and just play like a flanker. Like just play with Emong and just do what you're doing here, right?
Yeah, I like just sitting on this high ground because first of all, I'm giving passive heals or speed to anyone thing. I can just stay on this high ground. I can respond beat if they do exactly like I do this. So it's just like this is one of those Lucio things where it's like a Lucio playground where you're like, this is just great for me because I can just bump up and down. The chances that I die are incredibly low. Right. And you can just do a lot of different things. Right.
Again, it always start by asking where do I get value here, and then position yourself. Just don't. I think the big thing is for you is we'll talk in a second. It's just do not default to doing nothing. When you're not sure, make a decision, figure something out, problem solve this one. You're fight planning before the fight. We don't really have anything here. We kind of have to clutch here, right? What do you think?
I think we need to take the high ground and force them down, force them to throw a bad grab. I think the issue that happens here is I think the plan is good until they decide to just go all the way to the high ground. I think at this point, we need to fall back because we can't fight them up here because I make the call to fight up here. We just get grabbed and we die. And I'm like, well, that was a terrible idea. So it's like, we just need to recognize that.
You see it, right?
Yeah.
You know, like you don't, this is the problem. Like this is going to be your challenge with Jay is he doesn't always call these things, right? So you're going to have to like, not necessarily react to these things, but you should already be thinking, hey, like, what if their Tracer comes from up here? What if, could I be here? Can I like start here? Can I still give passive auras? Like, can I deny their Sojourn from taking top, their Kiriko from taking top, their Tracer from taking this line? Because their Tracer will go up here and then she'll blink over here and then she sets up a angle on Ash, right? So it's like, again, like, and you could be thinking about this not now, but now.
Yeah. Like just like thinking about the area that's best to take for everyone, and then I can navigate everyone else.
Right. And obviously, like this is because you're out of practice, this is going to be a little bit of slow going, and there's going to be a lot of trial and error. But like the big thing is that even if you do it wrong, it's still going to be valuable. Yeah. And then obviously as you improve, like goes without saying.
Yeah. That was, I think that was a miscommunication. I didn't realize Jay was going to go upstairs as well with that.
Yeah, I mean, so it happens. It happens. That's more on Jay than on you, but it's also like a good reminder of like where you could be having these conversations like as we're walking up. And then this is just a major deathmatch fight. Okay, I don't really have anything else. Any other questions?
No, that's pretty much it. I like the idea of like that's a very clear cut thing to help improve on of just like, hey, you know, like think about positioning going into team fights. I think is like a big thing to focus on going into scrims in the future. Right.